Hello and welcome to Between the Sheets. On tonight's episode, I sit down for a sidecar with Emmy Award-winning director Sam Riegel. We discuss everything from his childhood on Broadway, his extensive improv background, voice acting, directing, and yes, winning that Emmy. All that and more tonight on Between the Sheets. Enjoy. Sam, thank you for joining me.
Brian, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry. It's a pleasure to be here.
We went over this 5 times.
It's a pleasure to be here.
End it down.
Yep.
I know you don't like line reads, but
Yeah.
I have to give them to you.
Yeah.
We're drinking what today?
If I'm to understand correctly, you made me my favorite drink.
Yeah.
A sidecar.
Absolutely.
It's a delightful.
This is classy.
I know.
I'm not used to drinking something that's classy.
That's pretty good. The sugar around the rim really makes it what it is.
That sugar on yours?
Yes. Oh no.
I have sort of salt and something that's making my teeth numb.
I think that'll be fine.
Okay.
Just keep doing it.
Where did daytime Emmy Award winning, I have to say this 15, 16
Yeah.
times this episode, where
Yeah.
did daytime Emmy Award winning Sam Riegel grow up?
Daytime Emmy Award-winning Sam Riegel. There's got to be an abbreviation for that.
DEWSR?
Jesus. I grew up. I was born in our nation's capital, Washington D.C., on Columbus Day, in the bicentennial, named after Uncle Sam.
Really?
Yeah, all these things are true.
Named after Uncle Sam?
No.
Oh.
That part's not true.
Damn.
I mean, my name's the same as his.
Okay.
But I was born in D.C. I grew up in Northern Virginia. And eventually, theater sort of took me northward to New York City. And I still consider myself a New Yorker for the most part, even though I've probably lived here longer. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Once you're a New Yorker, you're just kind of a New Yorker for life.
A lot of it depends on where you ended up growing up and spending those formative years, I think, is how people end up deciding where they're really from.
Yeah, exactly.
How old were you when you left Northern Virginia?
My big trip out of Northern Virginia to the bright lights of New York City, I was, I think, 13 or 14. Let's see here. I must have been just 14. And I remember it very well because I flew alone from Dulles to New York, and I just booked a job. I booked The Sound of Music on Broadway. So I was leaving Virginia and moving to New York to seek my fame and fortune. And when I got to the airport, I checked in. I was flying by myself, and the guy at the ticket counter was like, "You're Sam Riegel." And I was
Really?
like, "What?" And he's like, "I've been following your career. I'm a big fan." I was like, "Are you serious?" So he was like a theater nerd.
Whoa.
And I was a well-known local theater kid, which, there was only like 4 of them, so I was top 4. And I guess he went to the theater a lot, so he had seen me perform, and he was like, "Good luck up there." And I was like, "This is
Wow.
like some sort of a sign."
You told him I'm on my way to make my big break in
Yeah,
the Big Apple.
pretty much. Yeah.
What were those first 13, 14 years like growing up in Northern Virginia and D.C.?
I had a pretty decent childhood, nothing like too traumatic or anything. Just, I was in theater from a very early age. My first theater production I was an Oompa Loompa in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when I was like 6.
Wow.
And then from there, I did a bunch of local theater shows. I did dinner theater, which, if you're not familiar with dinner theater,
Oh, I am.
it's theater while you eat. Well, the people watching eat, not the people on stage.
Yeah, I saw a dinner theater production of My Fair Lady in Washington, D.C. when I was in
You
8th
did?
grade. Yeah. Took an 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. to see all the sites and the monuments, and then they said, we're going to go to this thing called dinner theater, and I thought, that sounds terrible.
It really is.
But it was just as bad as I thought. No, it was fun.
No, but I would make $10 a show. I did a bunch of dinner theater, and then when I was 11, Les Mis came to town, the traveling production of Les Mis, And I auditioned and I got in and I toured the country. So like my childhood, it was like this weird divide of like being a regular kid who played soccer and did normal kid Virginia stuff, went camping, biking. And then I also had like this second life of like doing theater that none of my friends could really understand or vibe with.
Yeah.
It was very weird. My mom was always driving me around to auditions and performances and stuff like that. And so pretty soon I realized like this is not gonna, I'm not gonna stay here forever. Like it doesn't work. Something's wrong.
Yeah, your DNA and the DNA of what other kids were doing at that age was just different.
Yeah, especially after I went on tour with Les Miserables for a year and a half. Then I came back and was just a regular kid again in seventh grade, something like that. And so I was going to junior high and I had seen the world. I had seen America. We went to 26 different cities.
Wow.
I had been the star of not the star, but a prominent role in a major show. I had press. I was on TV. I was doing all this stuff, and then I went back and I was just in geometry class again, and I just was like, I gotta get out of here.
It was super hard to relate to other kids your age at that point because you might as well have seen the world.
Yeah.
Traveling that much.
Yeah, and all my friends were grown-ups. Like, because I was usually either the only kid in a show or there was like 2 or 3 kids in a show. And everyone I talked to was a grown-up. Not only a grown-up, but a theater person.
Right.
So like fabulous, cultured, talented, like
worldly.
Amazing people. And they treated me just like one of the cast. And so going back to just normal junior high after that is kind of rough.
Boring.
Yeah.
So you'd be so bored.
Yeah.
Did you do well in school, or was because theater was your passion, did that sort of slip away, or did you feel like it was easy to kind of maintain both?
It did. I wasn't. I mean, I was great in school. Like I'm smart enough to get by or whatever.
Surprised to hear you say something like that about yourself.
I'm really smart, Brian.
I gathered. They don't give Emmys away to dummies.
Nope, they sure don't. They make you fill out an essay question, actually. This is a lovely drink.
It tastes great.
And it's a decent show.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
3 minutes into your first time ever watching it, your episode.
Yes, yeah. What were we talking about? Oh,
We were
yes.
talking about, school. And
School, yeah. The only thing that was that I suffered from in school was just time. Like, so I was gone a lot and I would miss things. There was a period of time when I just didn't go to school. Like when I first moved up to New York, my mom didn't know what school to enroll me in New York. And so I think I just skipped 8th grade. Like, not just skipped it because I was so bright, just like didn't go to school for a year. And
Wow.
and when I went into school the next year, they were like, "Where's his school records?" And she's like, "Oh, there was a fire." And that was it. I just missed a whole grade.
he did some work for the government last year. We're not really allowed to go
Yeah.
into details.
So there's a missing school year. So there's probably some facts that I'm missing that you know that I don't.
Abraham Lincoln was the first president of the United States.
Of course, I
in
was there that day.
1970 something or other. I don't have the paperwork in front of me. At what point then, that young, did you realize that you were drawn to the stage or to performing? Was it, you got in one play and the bug hit you, or was it just going through the motions and all of a sudden something about that? Was it Les Mis,
Yeah, I mean, my mom was a stage mom, and she got us involved in theater at a young age, but and my sister too. But I really did like it, and I still have this unending urge to perform and have that sort of creative outlet. So she definitely kept checking in with us to say, like, is this something you really want to do?
Oh,
do
that's
you want
good.
to stop? Because there's also a lot of tears when you're a kid and you audition for something and you don't get it.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
You take that a lot harder than later on when you are more used to it.
Yeah, totally. So she checked in a lot, and I know there was just something about it. I don't know if it's getting the reaction from an audience or just sort of being expressive and big. I don't know what it was that resonated, but I was into it. So into it that I would do 2 shows at the same time sometimes. At one point when I was like 10, I was doing Camelot and Pippin, because in Pippin, the little boy, is only in the first act, and in Camelot, no, it's the other way around, something like that. But I worked it out so I was in Act 1 of one play and Act 2 of another play, and so I would do one and then drive across town and do the other
In the same night.
and then drive back and do curtain call at the first one.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you made $20 that night.
Yeah.
Was it hard for you, not only just traveling that much, but having that culture of an experience? Was it hard for you to make and to keep friends for all those years before you went to New York? Or were your friends the ones in the theater, and then when you were not traveling with them, you sort of just got by back
That is
home?
very true. Yeah, no, I didn't really have a lot of close long-term friends growing up. I would love the adults that I would hang out with, but like in school and stuff, yeah, even in New York, I would always have like one best friend and then not really any other friends. Because I could only I guess I only really had time to focus on one friend rather than hanging out with a larger group. So, and that's kind of followed me to this day. Like, I have one friend, his name's Liam O'Brien. And I like you guys too.
Of course, yeah.
But like, in terms of like a close friend, I really have only ever had like one at a time through my whole life.
Yeah, between the transient lifestyle and then just continuing to be busy, it's hard to maintain.
Yeah, and also like, I don't know. There, like you said, there wasn't a lot of other kids who just kind of got it. Like, sometimes I would have to grow my hair real long for a part, like for Les Mis or something, and all the other kids would make fun of me and say I have like girl hair and stuff, which is not an insult, but at the time it was.
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was rare to find a kid who was like, I get what you're about. You're a cool dude, because it was not cool on the outside.
Was it important for you to try and impress people or win them over in that case then, if you felt like a little bit of an outsider because of your lifestyle, obviously looking a lot different than any kid your age or any kid that I grew up with?
I mean, no, I always wanted to have friends, obviously, and be, accepted by my peers. But no, I didn't really seek out like hardcore companions a lot. Like, I played a lot of Nintendo and read a lot of comic books by myself and played G.I. Joes and stuff, and I was pretty content to just kind of be alone.
Yeah.
It sounds sad.
No, it makes sense, and it fits with sort of the circumstances that you were in they're not very conducive to someone who's going to end up being the popular kid at school with all the friends and,
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is that archetype too of like the performer guy who's the best in the talent show and everybody loves him at school. That was not me.
Yeah, most likely.
I was like a closeted actor. Like, I never did it at school. I never showed off any acting abilities at school or anything like that. I never sang at school.
No school productions.
No school productions, no choir, no chorus, no instruments, nothing like that. That was like just something for me that I did off hours.
Did you feel like, and I'm not making a joke, but did you feel like because you had been already in more advanced theater stuff than what a school production would be, that stuff was kind of amateur for you? Or
maybe, but also as being an insecure kid, I'm sure it was more like if I were to do a school production, there would be expectations on me that I couldn't live up to. That was probably more along the lines like, oh, we'll make Sam the star because he's a real actor. And then it's like, oh, he sucks.
You guys can't afford me on the school's budget.
Yeah.
So you go to New York, you're 14 years old, and the first production you did there was...
I did Sound of Music.
Sound of Music. And you're in one of the craziest, busiest, fast-moving intense hustle cities in the world at 14 years old.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, it was really cool. I mean, it was great. I was surrounded by other professionals. I went to a performing arts high school called PCS. And like Macaulay Culkin went there, and the Cosby Kids went there, and Tara Reid went there, and
Whoa.
Sarah Michelle Gellar went
Whoa.
there. So I was around all these people who finally like got it. And not only did they get it, and I was accepted as just being another performer in the school. They were all way better than me, and also way more famous. So it was cool to be. It was kind of cool to be an outcast, not because I was the weird theater kid, but because I was the guy who hadn't booked a regular job on a soap opera yet, or whatever.
Right.
Like, I was a striving actor where they were all like famous.
Right.
Yeah.
Broadway.
Yeah.
At that age, what was that like? All those people, I'm sure there were probably articles and,
Sure.
you know, you're thrust into the spotlight that young. I've talked to Taliesin and other people about acting as a child and what that's done, but this level of, you know, live theater production on Broadway is obviously legendary, but that must have been, was it intimidating?
Sure. I mean, those big audiences are, you know, it's weird. Broadway is the houses in Broadway are a little smaller than the houses when you tour around sometimes. Like I would play in Les Mis, I would do shows to theaters that are like 3,000, 4,000 people. And then the Broadway houses are more like 1,800. It was actually a little less intimidating just in terms of like scope. But yeah, when you're performing for that many people and you're surrounded by professional adults who are like looking at you when you step forward to sing your song on stage, it's scary as shit.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's also the most exhilarating thing ever. Like I always got stage fright. I still get stage fright. Even now on our Dungeons and Dragons show, I get stage fright.
Really?
Oh yeah.
On a Thursday before an episode, you deal
time.
with what's going through your mind?
Well, when you know your physical body is like starting to betray you and your heart's beating and your throat's closing up and starting to get dry and stuff. And mainly what I worry about on our show that we do now is like these ads that I do at the beginning, because it's not like there's a rehearsal or anything. I just have to kind of wing it. And I worry if I'll mess something up or say something totally offensive.
Yeah, that's a real thought.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I love about it and about just performing in general is like that. Ooh, it's about to start.
Yeah,
go, and you just got to do it.
And that helps you overcome the fear, is just walking right into it head first.
Yeah, and it's always been that way for me, even as a kid. I just have loved that feeling of like impending fear, and then like, let's go through the door. Let's see what happens. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's an addiction of some sort.
Probably.
Yeah.
But a good one compared to the others that you could have gotten into.
Oh, tell me about those.
Well, and that's for another time. We don't have nearly enough of this. What was after Sound of Music?
I did other theater shows in New York. I did an off-Broadway show called I Can Get It For You Wholesale. I did some soap operas eventually. I did some,
Around what age were you doing
like
soap
15,
operas?
you know, the comfortable, confident age that you want to be on national television, where you have to put a lot of cover up on a gigantic zit right before you go out with a soap opera star to do a scene. Yeah, I did like Another World, and I did soap operas that don't even exist anymore. I can't even think of the other ones. In one soap opera, I played a French boy.
Oh,
like one of the storylines took someone to France, and I was a French pickpocket, and I stole her wallet, and then we had a scene together. And ridiculous.
Did you mean to sound like Pepe Le Pew when you were on that?
Oh, I went to one half-hour dialect coaching session.
For the French thing?
So I'm pretty expert at it.
Did they give you a certificate that sits next to the Emmy?
Yep.
French training?
Totally.
What was the difference for you in doing theater and then doing some TV stuff? Did you prefer one over the other when you started doing TV? Was it, ooh, this is kind of interesting and something I haven't tapped into because you had been doing theater for so long?
Yeah, I didn't dig TV very much. It was a lot of waiting, and there was no feedback.
There's no instant gratification from the
like
audience.
you do a good job and nobody's like laughing or crying or applauding or anything. So it just seemed kind of cold and dead, and I didn't love it. I much preferred theater, and so I gravitated to that. I did a lot of singing shows. I did a doo-wop show as a teenager. I was in a doo-wop group, and we had a show in New York.
What was the name of that group?
We were called the Procrastinators.
Oh, wow.
And we sang classic doo-wop hits of the 50s and 60s.
Songs about waiting to get stuff done until you're ready?
Yeah, totally.
Was the instant gratification and that instant feedback, having grown up being so used to that, do you find that in developing yourself as an actor, that was something you needed to feel like you did a good job?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably. It probably is defining most of my life. But
Still.
yeah, I think so. Just getting instant laughs or instant yucks. You know, I'm a bit of a silly person sometimes.
I'm just not surprised.
And it's probably because I'm like constantly fishing for some sort of reaction, because it's like drilled into my soul that you're not doing it right unless someone's reacting to it.
So if you don't get that reaction, does your mind immediately go to that wasn't funny enough or
Yeah.
it wasn't good enough?
Yeah.
How do you overcome that and realize?
I guess I don't.
You just try again and hope for a
Yeah.
better result?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, just kind of thinking back, like even in college, I went to just a regular college to just have a regular kid experience. And within like 6 months, I found myself the lead singer of an a cappella group. And we would perform at sororities and stuff like that. And like, I guess I'm always constantly seeking experiences where I can, you know, show off and get a response. It's probably to hide some sort of deep-seated insecurity and
We'll get there.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's
I'm
Act
just
2
kidding.
of the show.
That's Act 2 of the show. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how this works.
I'm not a fan of the show.
How did you end up getting into improv?
Improv. So I got into improv the way that most people do. Tina Fey told me to start.
Really? How did you meet Tina Fey?
So I went to the University of Virginia for college.
Right.
And at the end of college there, I don't know if they do this anymore, but they used to give you like a mentor, someone who has graduated before that you can call to get career advice in the field of your choosing. And there's not many people who go through UVA with an entertainment background or future.
It's not the prominent.
No. It's mostly like law school and med school people, and brilliant people, or poli-sci, that kind of stuff. But so I clicked in that I want to talk to an entertainment person, and they were like, "Here's your mentor. Her name's Tina Fey. Her name is Elizabeth Fey."
Wow.
And it took me a while to figure out, like, oh, her middle name's Tina, and that's Tina Fey. She's on Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
She had just been named, I think, head writer of SNL. So I'm sure she doesn't even remember this, but I called her on the phone at her office, and I was like, "Hey, I'm just graduating from Virginia. I want to do theater and comedy and writing and stuff, and what do I do?" And she's like, "You got to move to Chicago and do improv comedy."
At Second City or one of those.
Yeah, or
prominent.
Improv Olympic.
Improv Olympics, yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, but can I move to New York since that's where I live already?" And she was like, "Great, yeah, go to New York. There's something just about to start. It's called the Upright Citizens Brigade. They're just getting a theater. You should go there and sign up for classes right away." And I was like, "Great, see you there." And I never talked to her again. But
That was it.
That was it.
I
And
bet
then-
she still remembers though.
Totally. And that's what I did. I went to New York and I signed up for UCB. I was one of the first classes of students there when they just had gotten their first real theater. I guess they had a smaller theater and they had just moved into a bigger theater.
And were you still doing regular theater productions, or was it just strictly you went in there and you
I
were
think
going
when
to
I
improv?
started doing improv, like that was it for a while. Like that was so cool because you didn't need to rehearse or anything, and really weird, interesting people.
It still scratched that itch of the live performance, the
Totally.
laughs, the feedback.
Yeah, and more so because you get to do a different show every time you go up on stage. You get to perform with different people or get thrown into somebody else's sketch show or something. So it was just a wild place to do stuff, and you could experiment and do really gross skits or really weird characters, or just kind of stretch your muscles. And most of it was terrible, but some of it was really good.
What's one that still sticks with you that you remember that you had a lot of fun doing?
Let's see here. Something that was really fun to do. We did a Halloween show. I've forgotten the name of it. I'll find it. But I played a clown, and the object of it was like a Halloween sketch show, and the object of it was just to be gross, essentially. And my scene, I think I was a clown with a chainsaw or something, and I was slicing up bodies, and there was buckets of blood just everywhere. The audience had to have tarps.
Gallagher style.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome to just like come home at night and have like dried blood all over your face and hair, and it was really cool.
The difference between theater, where you're doing a play or a musical and you have a script and you can rehearse over and over and over, and then you go over to improv where it still uses a lot of those skills, but this time you have the potential to sort of bomb even more. Did you have any performances or any nights like that where you walked off stage and went, I totally sucked?
Oh yeah. In improv that happens all the time. You do a show where just nothing clicks, people are missing cues or clues, or you just forget the thread of the game or the scene or the character. I mean, bad improv is the worst. And my poor now wife, then girlfriend, had to go to so many improv shows to support me and be a great girlfriend. And she must have sat through so much garbage, just so much. And not all of it was me. Some of it was me, but like, oh boy, there was just some rough shows where just nothing was funny.
Did it discourage you, or did it drive you to be better than you currently were at that time?
I think it drove me to be better than I was, mainly from like an ego standpoint, but also a technique standpoint. Like it's amazing to be at a theater like Upright Citizens Brigade, where you see these incredible improvisers, incredible comedians, and so for us and all of us who were going through the training program and stuff at the time, we would watch somebody on stage and be like, oh my God, that person is a genius. I want to do that. And Tina Fey would come perform sometimes. And so would the original UCB members and Armando Diaz and all these like incredible, Andrew Secunda, all these incredible performers who have gone on to like write stuff and star in stuff. And just watching them was sort of like, it was jet fuel for like, I gotta be better.
It was a clinic, a master class for you.
Yeah. Rob Corddry was there, and Rob Riegel was there.
Were you hard on yourself when you would do well or poorly? Did you you're obviously a very driven person, and you are always looking for a way to sort of top the last thing you did or to iterate on it or improve on it. Were you hard on yourself, or did you feel like that would get in the way so you would just focus on the work?
I know you're trying to make me cry right now.
I'm not. I'm going to get to that.
No.
When we talk about your feelings for me, that's when we know the tears will flow.
I feel like I was normal on myself. Like I think my mom was smart in that she got us involved early, and she got us, me and my sister, auditioning a lot when we were real young. And there was a lot of failure and a lot of like bad auditions and like bad dance auditions. Like, you can dance, right? Sure, I'll try to dance. Nope, you can't dance. That kind of stuff. And so I think we got it all out early. So I had so much disappointment and so much failure as like a 9-year-old boy that when I got to be like a 24-year-old improviser in New York, I was like, this is nothing. I bombed on stage, so what? It's nothing compared to like having a guy tell you as a 9-year-old, you suck at this. I can take this.
You develop thicker skin.
Yeah, also the improv community in the New York scene at that time was, we would all go out to the bar afterwards and McManus Pub and drink down our sorrows and talk about what we should have done in the improv scene or what we could have done that would be way funnier. And it's almost like that stuff, the stuff at the bar afterwards, was way more educational than the actual classes.
Wow.
Yeah, because you were just kind of bandying about comedy with dudes who are better than you while drinking. And
so you're commiserating, but you're also learning.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you ever think maybe a normal 9 to 5 is in my future? I'm getting this out of my system now. I'm enjoying this for now, but there's no way it's going to be able to sustain well into the later parts? Or is it you were driven to make sure that you could carve out a space for yourself in the world, making a living doing what you loved?
There were definitely times when I thought, like, I should have a backup plan, or I should try to have just a regular job. Like, going through puberty is a real hard time for an actor, just because you don't know what roles you can play anymore.
Yeah, your voice got higher.
Yeah, it did. And then also, like, coming out home from college, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any contacts or whatever. So, yeah, there were times that I would try to do, like, or think about doing, like, a real job. At one point in high school, I was like, I think I'm going to be a forensic pathologist.
Why?
It just seemed cool and interesting. My dad's a scientist.
Right.
I really like science. But then one day he was like, they have to, like, look at dead bodies all day long. And some of them could be, like, horrible or children.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I won't ever think about that ever again in my life. And then after college, I wanted to be briefly a producer. Because that's in the biz, but it's not like, it's a little bit more normal. Not really.
A theater producer?
No,
or
I was
TV, film?
I produced a string of, like, films, of short films and feature films. I was doing, like, line producing and UPM jobs and stuff on other people's movies. And it was fun because, making movies is fun to put it all together and hire a crew and find a DP and get actors together and stuff. But it just wasn't creatively
fulfilling enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you want to be performing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was still great to do and taught me a lot about how things are put together and
the industry and
how the industry works, how cameras work, how crews are put together, These fine people who are all around us are fabulously talented, and
this is all being run off an iPad.
That's true.
Really
it's
no.
all
They were
robots.
just here to set up. Your wife is extremely accomplished, cultured, well-spoken, has incredible taste. How did she end up with someone like you? You knew where this was going. When did you guys first meet?
We met in college.
At University of Virginia.
At University
What
of
was
Virginia.
she studying there? What did she want to do?
She was, well, that's two different things.
Okay.
She was studying accounting. She grew up in a traditional family where they expected their sons and daughters to have good regular jobs like doctor and lawyer and stuff. So she was studying to be an accountant. But she really just wanted to be like a painter or a photographer or something like that.
So she was an artist at heart.
At heart, yes. But we were both in a cappella groups. She was in the all-girls group, and I was in the all-boys group. And so we would see each other around.
At the ice cream socials.
Yeah. We would swap beatboxing techniques. And she would introduce me to new syllables to say dum dum dum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super sexy.
She was a pro at that.
Totally. And then she was dating a guy who was in my group.
Ooh.
And so I would see her a lot, but not in a romantic way. And then,
But were you immediately attracted to her, or because she was dating someone in your group, it was off limits from you? You just admired her from afar.
There was a moment I had seen her. Interesting young lady. Didn't really get too much into it, but there was a moment where we went to a dance club, all of the a cappella nerds, and we were dancing together and on the dance floor. And the guy from my group said, "Hey, I'm gonna go get us another round of beers. Dance with my girl for a second, will you?" And I was like, "Sure." And so we started dancing, and she was like, "Come on, dance closer to me." And I was like, I'm okay. And by the way, this is how I dance.
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, dance closer." And I got a little closer, and she's like, "No, dance closer." And so she grabbed me by the hand, she spun me around, and she did the most amazing dance move I've ever seen.
Whoa.
And I was like, I'm going to marry this girl.
That was it.
Yeah. And so when my friend came back with the drinks, I was like, "Hey," because it was loud. I was like, "Hey, when you guys break up, we're going to go out."
No, you didn't.
Yeah. And he was like, "Okay, cool."
Sure.
Yeah.
He thought you said, like, do you want to go out to eat after this? Because it was so loud. How long after that did you steal your friend's girlfriend?
It was a long time. She made me work for it because
She made you take dancing lessons and...
she made me reform my ways. I was a bit of a flirt in college.
Oh.
Some would have other words to describe.
Okay.
But in my college, for some reason, being in an a cappella group was a popular thing.
That for real?
Yeah, So I would date a lot of women, and she did not like that very much.
I bet not.
Coming from her traditional family background,
Yeah.
and so I had to just focus and commit myself to her and only her, and make her feel that she was special and worth fighting for. That took many, many months, and then at the end of it, she said no.
Really?
Yeah, I said I just want to be with you. I have feelings for you.
I've changed my ways.
I've changed my ways. I just please say yes. And she's like, nope. And
What did that feel like?
It was crushing, just devastating, awful.
And how old were you at this point?
I was 21.
Wow.
And we cried, and I cried, and it was awful. And then I called my friend who was in my a cappella group, and he was like, "Just cut off ties, man. Just cut off all ties. Don't talk to her ever again."
You've got a line of other girls that are, clamoring to spend time with you that you've had to turn away.
No, he was saying just cut off all ties and make her come back to me.
Oh.
He thought that would be a good technique.
It would work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did.
It did?
Yeah. So we didn't talk for like 3 days, and then when I got home one night to my dorm room, I opened it up, and she was sitting in my bed with a pint of Chunky Monkey ice cream, because that was my favorite.
Whoa.
And she was like, "I'm staying."
What do you think made her change your mind?
Because we were best friends. We were best friends. We hung out all the time together, but we just weren't romantically involved.
You think she was afraid that would ruin the friendship?
She definitely was. And so when she's very smart, because she didn't want to risk our friendship. And so when I had sort of confessed my love to her and she denied me, I just stopped talking to her. And it was like the hardest 3 days of both of our lives, because we were just used to hanging out together all the time. And so she's like, "I'm in."
And then you've been together now how long? So that would be...
We've been together 21 years.
Somewhere in the midst of all of that, and you guys are together, you're in New York. You guys ended up in New York on 9/11 and took some footage and some photographs that's been used in documentaries about 9/11 since then.
Yes, we were living right downtown across the street from the Twin Towers. We were like the closest residential building to the Twin Towers. And so and my wife was working across the street at World Financial Center 1, which was also, it wasn't hit by a plane, but it was destroyed.
Yeah, in the aftermath.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we had quite a weird morning that morning. We were woken up by the sound of a plane crash, and we lost our apartment. And while we were there, sort of like watching this all unfold, because it wasn't instantaneous. Like there was an explosion, then there was another explosion many minutes later, and then they were burning for a while, and we were just watching, not really knowing what to do. So my wife, whom I had just given a camera to for her birthday that year, started just snapping pictures just to kind of like not fill the time, but like trying to separate yourself from the event with like a lens. And she took a bunch of pictures, and then we evacuated our apartment and we ran, and the towers fell, and she took more pictures, and we were evacuated to New Jersey, and she took more pictures. And yeah, a few days later, we went to the Associated Press with these undeveloped rolls of film, because it was film back then.
Right.
And she walked upstairs to the Associated Press offices, and I waited downstairs at the TGI Fridays. She waited until they developed the film and looked at the pictures, and she came downstairs like 2 hours later, and she had an Associated Press badge. She's like, "Hey, I'm an AP photographer." They gave me 20 rolls of film, and we're supposed to go back down there and shoot more stuff right away. And so it ended up changing her whole life, because before then she was an accountant working for just a big time accounting firm, and from that day on, she became a professional photographer and an artist.
Now she's a cinematographer, extremely accomplished.
Yeah. So it was an awful day, but weirdly for her and for us, it has led to her whole career and professional life came from that day.
When you think back about that experience and being so extremely close to it, I mean, obviously across the street, did that change things for you guys? Did it really changed the world? But for you two being there at the center of that, what was that experience like? I can't imagine. Watching it on TV was so horrifying, but there must have been so much confusion. It must have just been, because for me, who wasn't watching the news, I was 18 years old at the time. It came out of nowhere. It just seemed insane to me. But to be there watching it and people being so terrified and confused and not knowing what was going on.
Yeah, it was super confusing and terrifying, obviously. But I think most of the terror came from like not even knowing what was going on.
What would happen next?
We were hearing like people on the street were like, "There's 9 more planes coming. Everybody run!" You know, there was all sorts of misinformation and stuff. Nobody really knew who was behind it for a little while, or where we were going to stay that night.
Where did you stay?
We stayed in a hotel in New Jersey. Everyone was evacuated. Everyone around us was evacuated to New Jersey on a ferry boat. And then we were put on a New Jersey transit train. This is such a fun episode of your show, by the way.
It's only part of it.
And we were told, all the hotels are full, just go. And so we went in a few towns deeper into New Jersey. Never thought I'd be happier to be in New Jersey than that day.
Yeah.
We stayed at a hotel room that night. At one point, we were pulled off the train by police and ordered to take off all our clothes, and because they thought that there was chemicals.
Oh, wow.
And so we had to decontaminate each other in a decontamination tent.
Whoa.
And we were given those like hazmat suit, painter suits to wear. So when we got to this hotel, we were wearing these white hazmat suits, and we're holding all of our belongings in a orange hazmat bag, like a plastic sealed bag. And we walked into the hotel, and the lady at the front desk was like, "Here's your room keys."
Don't come out.
No payment necessary. Don't tell us anything. Just go to your room and relax.
Wow.
We stayed there for a few days, and eventually we came back to the city. But we never went back to that. We never moved back to that apartment again. And
was all your stuff gone? And
it was there, but it was just destroyed by smoke and glass and water and people traipsing all over it and stuff.
That experience bring you guys even closer together than you were?
For sure it did. Yeah, because I can't imagine going through that. I can't imagine if we had not been together that day, it would have been just impossible, like to be worrying about the other person. But we were together the whole day, like literally holding hands as we were running away and stuff like that. And just living through that experience definitely just solidified our relationship and brought us closer together. Leading up to that, we had been sort of arguing because she comes from this very traditional family,
right.
Very Catholic family, and they wanted me to convert to Catholicism.
And you didn't grow up religious, right?
No, and any religion that I had was Judaism. My grandma, who escaped the Holocaust, was very Jewish. And so, if anything, I was Jew. So I had said to, like, my then girlfriend, like, I'm not going to convert. No way, no how. And then, like, that day, as we escaped the wreckage, I was like, yeah, anything you want me to do, I will convert to any religion.
You called the in-laws and said,
yeah,
fine, it's time.
Let's do this.
Yeah, I bet. You have a wife now. You don't yet have kids, but you have a wife now, and you felt you had a husband-sized hole in your heart.
Yeah.
And at what point did Liam O'Brien come into that?
So tell me about this, Brian. Is this going to be like one of those game shows where you ask him the same questions as you ask me, and then if we got the answers right, we win a prize?
Correct. And the prize is another sidecar. And the prize is you get each other.
Well, that is the best prize. Except not in Quebec, Canada.
Right. Sorry, Quebec, unfortunately.
Liam and I met when my wife my fiance at the time, had been shooting pictures for a while, and she said, I want to go to film school now. So she had applied and gotten into, or she was starting to apply to film schools in Los Angeles, and we knew that we were going to kind of make the move out of New York to Los Angeles, and I was preparing myself for that move. And we were at an anime convention, and I saw this dude, and we started to talk. And it turns out that Liam and I had done anime shows together. We had acted together, but we had never actually met. Because, when you record anime,
you do it at different times.
One at a time,
right.
Yeah. And so we had worked together, but I never met the man. And then we got to meet at this anime convention, and we just started talking. And I don't know what it was, but like... You know what? Talking to you, Brian, I do know what it was.
Tell me.
It was that thing we've been talking about. I don't have a lot of friends who get it.
Right.
And he instantly got it.
He told me that I think he said he couldn't remember which one of the two of you said it, but one of you immediately, spending time at that convention together, said to the other, we should be best friends.
Absolutely. Yeah. Instantly. In the first 20 minutes of knowing each other. Because I don't know. He had the same shared experiences and the same interests and the same desire to perform and put himself out there and expose himself to the world. I think because of very different reasons. I don't pretend to understand everything that goes on in his mind. Probably mine comes from like this deep insecurity and wanting to please people all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what drives him as much, but I know that we share that spark.
Right.
And we must have sensed it in each other that first meeting. And I said, I'm moving to LA. He said, I'm already in LA. When you move out there, let's be best friends. I'll get you a lot of work because I already know the people out there. And I was like, great. And it was done.
You had a leg up because somebody that not only could get you work or anything like that, but you knew that if you came to LA, I have a friend there. I have somebody that's like me or that, at least understands me.
Yeah, it's like Survivor, the fabulous reality show that we all love and watch.
Oh, yeah, I don't miss a season.
But early episodes of that show, they're all trying to pair up and make pacts with each other or whatever.
Survive.
To survive.
Right.
Yeah, but they make alliances.
Yeah.
And it made moving to Los Angeles so much easier knowing I had an alliance already, and together we've taken over Los Angeles.
Completely. I mean, the billboards, the awards stack up. That relationship, all these years later, it means a lot to you.
Yeah. I love that Liam O'Brien, and he loves me back.
He does.
Long time.
We talked about that. Long time. We talked about that, and it was interesting because he sees a side of you that it's not that other people don't see, but it's funny because the things that, he appreciates your sense of humor and I'm supposed to say we all do. But to him, the thing that really stuck out to me was that he describes you as an extremely caring, thoughtful person who listens and has been there for him during really hard times in his life.
That's surprising.
Why? It's not surprising. No, it's not.
Well,
but you guys have an interesting. You guys have a very interesting bond that, not a lot of men that I know are comfortable being that close to. I have no problem with it, but there's a lot of people who wouldn't describe a relationship with another guy that way, or be that close, or go through stuff like that together.
Yeah, I guess it's a combination of just being on the same wavelength with each other, and also being together through different periods of our lives. Moving out here is scary, and being a young actor is scary, and being a young anything is scary, and so you rely on your friends to get you through it, and so I guess we were there for each other during that sort of time of professional growth.
Right.
And in doing so, we just got closer and closer as friends, and have been there for each other through babies being born and hard times with family stuff, and our path and our lives, and sort of like the sequence of events in our lives have been very parallel. We both married people who we had been dating for a long time. We both had kids roughly the same time. His are a little older. We both did the same sorts of anime jobs, which led to the same sorts of video game jobs, which led to the same sorts of directing jobs. It's been fun to just have someone to be able to talk to who I totally know what you're saying, man, because that same thing happened to me last week.
Yeah.
Or yelling in a video game, he gets it. Directing an actor who's difficult to work with, he gets it. Writing a script that's really annoying, he gets it. We just share. There's so many commonalities that it just makes it so easy to be his friend.
And New York is a lot easier of a city, in my opinion, to do things alone, or to do things on your own a little bit more often. When you move to LA, it's a lot spread out. It's a lot more laid back. It's not as easy of a town to try and go through a lot of that stuff alone as New York is, in my opinion.
Yeah, because we're all like on a little island out here. Each neighborhood is like its own little island, and you can't really explore other ones without a guide.
Right.
So yeah, it was very helpful. Man, if I had to move to LA without a friend and a girlfriend, I have no idea how that would go.
At what point in theater and improv and doing all this stuff do you stumble into voiceover work?
Well, voiceover is interesting because you don't have to be good looking to do it. And that's always been my sort of my one problem is I'm fugly.
No, you don't really believe that about yourself.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I first moved to LA, I was auditioning for on-camera stuff, and as a kid, I was auditioning for on-camera stuff all the time. So I'm used to going into a casting office and seeing like 7 other guys who look just like me, but are way handsomer. And
with manageable mouths.
Yes, yeah. They're just more put together than me, and I was tired of being guy number 8.
Right.
Who, when I walked in, everyone else would be like, "Oh, cool, I got this one." No, I've been doing voiceover forever, and since I was a kid and stuff too. So after I became an adult, it just seemed like a natural thing to keep pursuing. Also, I happen to have this this really region neutral accent. And so I started to do books on tape and learning books, English language learning books and stuff when I was a young adult, and that was good practice. And got really good on the mic, and that led to other things like anime and cartoons.
Ninja Turtles. I mean, we don't have time to go through.
Oh, we
your
have time to go
career.
through.
No, honestly, it's. I was looking at it the other day when I was doing research for this interview.
You
and
don't do research.
I had to for you because I'm like, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, because
what is there?
super boring.
What is there to talk about? Did it scratch the same itch for you? Because voiceover, you don't get that instant gratification like we talked about. So where did that sense of I'm performing and I'm doing that thing that I love, but did it scratch a different itch for you than theater and improv did?
It does. It scratches a different itch because in voiceover, as I'm sure other guests of your fine show have commented on, you can play all kinds of different roles. You can be bad guys and good guys and animals and aliens and all kinds of great stuff. So it really is fun to just explore and express from your voice. Yes, there's nobody just applauding off screen. But you still do get a sense of play and improvisation sometimes in cartoons anyway, and finding punchlines and finding jokes on jokes on jokes, and you know what? I'm gonna take it back. There is a lot of laughter in voiceover studios, even if you're just working with one other person. Like Liam and I used to do when we would make these anime shows together when we first moved to LA. We'd make these terrible anime shows that we would write ourselves, direct ourselves, record ourselves, and even then, even when it was just me recording and Liam in the booth or whatever, we would still crack each other up all the time with different performances and outtakes and all sorts of stuff like that. So it does scratch the same itch in a slightly different way. It's a different scratch technique,
Yeah,
but it still scratches. Can we? That's the thing.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
Sure.
I think people know what
It's
part
a
of the
rub, not a
body-
scratch.
I understand. Yeah, it's a wax on, not a wax off.
Sure.
You've been directing for a long time. It's a different experience than acting. You have been acting your entire life, so I feel like you understand actors well. What do you love about directing?
I love a lot of the same things I like about performing. You know, going into these different places or different experiences or different emotions and exploring all that stuff is just fun. I do like actors a lot. I feel like they're, for the most part, kind of interesting and funny and different. And I've known them my whole life. And so as a director, even if it's one actor at a time, you still get to see a ton of actors. Today, before I came here to do this, I think I directed 7 different actors this morning. And it's great. Some of them are super hilarious in the booths. Some of them are super serious and really focused on their character. Some of them are TV actors who don't do this a lot and need a lot of coaxing and coaching to get to an animation place. So, but in all of them, they're interesting, cool people, and it's fun to hang out with them. It's also fun to hang out with them in short bursts, because
right.
actors can also be kind of depressing sometimes.
Yeah, I understand.
But I only get them for like an hour or two at a time,
Right.
when they're on their best behavior and they're living their best lives because they have work and they're making money. So I get all the best parts of hanging out with actors with none of the depression. And then also I get to act a lot as a director, especially nowadays doing TV animation. A lot of times we don't have that big group record where there's 6 people in the booth doing a whole episode of a show at once.
So you have to read lines for those actors that are not
Yeah,
present.
a lot of times someone will come in and they'll want someone to play off of, and so I get to play every other person in the episode. And I get to do voices, and I get to really make them laugh, and they get to make me laugh, and it makes the scenes better. And it also I just get to act all day with actors who are way better than me. You know, Academy Award winning actors. I've directed John Hamm. I've directed Snoop Dogg. I've directed Cher. I've directed like amazing people, and I get to do scenes with them. And I would never get a chance to do that just as an actor, but as a director, yeah, I do.
Was it hard to sit there and try and focus while John Hamm's beautiful everything was just right in front of you, just glaring into your soul?
He's a handsome man. He's a handsome man, and it's hard. It's hard to know when you're in the presence of the ham. what to do. But no, working with John Hamm was good because we also had. He's weirdly friends with Jack McBrayer.
Oh, weird. Oh,
They're like best
yeah.
friends.
Yeah, well, he's weirdly in the comedy scene. He's friends with everybody in that circle.
So we had Jack McBrayer and John Hamm that day, and it made things really easy because it was very friendly environment.
Yeah. At some point, you're living life with Liam O'Brien. He mentions he is having a birthday coming up. What he'd really love to do is play a game of Dungeons and Dragons. So having grown up not playing that game like some of the others had done, what was your initial thought at that idea?
So we did, we conceived of this Dungeons and Dragons game partly because it was his birthday coming up and partly because we were doing a show, a podcast called All Work, No Play, available right now on the Critical Role Twitch network.
Look in the camera and say it.
Catch us Fridays at 8. I have no idea when the show's on.
We'll put it on the screen.
Oh, yeah, because they told me I could do this and a graphic would appear.
He said not to do that.
Oh, he did?
He said do
There's
not do that.
There's going to be a graphic right here.
Nope, there will be nothing. Nope. Instead, your social security number your cell phone number is about to pop up. So you guys are doing the podcast.
So we were doing the podcast, and he had this stupid idea to play Dungeons and Dragons, which I don't know about nerd stuff.
Because you only really grew up, like you said, reading comic books. And
comic books is nerdy,
but
I
you
guess.
weren't sitting there reading Dragonlance like Liam.
Oh, that's dorky.
Right.
I wasn't into fantasy.
That's dorky, says the 8-year-old theater nerd.
Who sang in a doo-wop group. Yeah, but dragons, super nerdy. No, I just wasn't around anyone who played Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, so I never got exposed to it. I think as a kid I would have loved it in retrospect, but I didn't know. I didn't have a lot of friends, and the ones I did have just weren't into it.
They were doing the same things you were. It wasn't that they were.
Stuff. So so we played together for the podcast and for his birthday with our friends, and it was a great night.
What did you walk away from that? What were you feeling when you walked away from that night?
I mean, I think everyone felt the same thing, which was, wow, we got to do that again. That was something. There was some magic to it. I don't know if it was the collection of people or the characters that we were playing. It was probably Matt. It was probably Matt was just so fucking good.
Yeah.
That we were like, imagine if Matt Mercer was your first dungeon master ever. I mean...
Yeah, you were sort of ruined at that point.
Yeah.
And also completely enraptured.
Yeah. It was just great storytelling. It was a great hangout with some friends, some people I didn't know very well. It was acting. It was being silly. It was everything in me that I've been wanting. People who I could be friends with, who get me and who also perform, an opportunity to make people laugh, to play different characters, to tell a weird, cool story. Like it's everything all at the same time. It was the best drug.
You couldn't have known going into it that it was going to scratch all of those itches and cover all those bases of the stuff that you really loved until you experienced it.
No, it was an epiphany. It was one of those light bulb moments where like, at least for me, there's no going back. Like,
right.
I've had that experience. I want more of that forever. So it was great. It was a great night, and it's led to so many more weird, great, sad nights and happy nights, and such an experience. Even just like when we're not doing our show or playing the game, it's led to all of these great moments together that are the best moments of our lives, I guess.
You have this experience with this Dungeons and Dragons game. After the first session, you immediately are hooked and intrigued.
Sure, yes.
Did you have an idea at that point that it was going to cover a lot of those bases that you grew up having as your bread and butter of improv and character creation and on-the-spot reaction? Did you realize that early on in that home game that this is kind of fulfilling me in a way I never...
I mean, I feel like, yes, something about those early games definitely rang true and compelled all of us to just keep going. And there's something here that's special and spectacular. And yeah, it hasn't been until recently, like even when we started broadcasting the show on the stream, it didn't sink in that, like, no, this is the thing. This is the thing that you want to be doing now. Like, it was fun. I love these people. I love this game. But only like recently has it really sunk in, like, no, this is the thing that your life has been leading towards. All your experiences on stage and screen, improv, writing, directing, voice acting, it's all for this. And after you get over the initial hurdle of like, but this is just a Dungeons and Dragons game. After you sort of say, yeah, fine, whatever. After you get past that, it's like, that's fine. I'm happy with this. Like, this is great. If my life led to this, then it was great. It was a good trajectory and one that no one could have foreseen, which is
predicted. Yeah,
amazing.
When you see the feedback that you get from the show, obviously a lot of people love your sense of humor. Your improvisational skills are, highly regarded in some parts of the world. But now you're looking
not the
at
English-speaking
not
parts
the
of the
English
world.
speaking.
No.
Not the people actually understand what you're saying.
No.
But the show has impacted people in a lot of ways. The characters that you've played have impacted people in a lot of ways. Is that fulfilling for you in a way that's different from that laugh and that feeling of instant gratification you would have on stage as a kid, because it goes to a deeper level with how it's touched people?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've been in plays before where people have cried or gotten emotional in the audience and stuff like that. So it's a different kind of feedback that we have on the Critical Role show, in that we do something and it's not like there's a live audience, but we do hear about things via social media or via letters that people send in, or people that we meet at these conventions and live events that we host. Meeting people and talking to people, it is a different way of interacting with people who are watching your work, and one that I haven't really experienced before, where it's not just they had a great time watching your show, and it's not even like meeting someone at the stage door after a show where they want an autograph and they want to tell you how great a show it was. It's something much deeper than that, where the characters that we're bullshitting on the fly are actually like resonating with people in a way that that is it's just on a much more personal level, and it's really cool, and it's also a lot of pressure,
right,
to know that people are looking at the characters that we're creating in this long form improv show, which is essentially what it is. But they're looking to these characters and they're seeing themselves in these characters in a very deep, personal way. It makes it harder in a way. Well, it makes it more important in a way that, like, you don't want to just rattle off a shitty joke just to get a laugh, which is my bread and fucking butter. Sometimes you want to do something as a character that's going to get a different kind of reaction that people might not like or people might not laugh at all, but a few people in the audience will identify with it in a way that is way more fulfilling than just an easy laugh.
And that risk for you is worth it, because you know that you can get that laugh, and you know you're smart enough, you're quick enough to be able to get that reaction. But at some point, does having that reaction get old, and you want to create a different reaction or create a different emotion in the viewer or the audience? I
mean, for me, getting a laugh will never be old.
Right.
But yes, knowing that you can get a different kind of a reaction, a more honest or deeper reaction from an audience it's amazing.
Was there any of that mindset going into sort of the turn towards the later part of the first campaign with Scanlan, taking him into a more serious, going from a guy who visited the brothels and always had, poop and all the fun jokes and everything, and then
I think it was pretty highbrow.
it was very highbrow. Despite
But
how I'm
yeah,
describing
absolutely. That's the transition right there. Is the first 50 episodes of Critical Role me just going for cheap and easy jokes, and then the next 50 episodes me realizing like, oh no, I don't have to just tell shitty stand-up. I can like do cool character exploration and talk about backstory and emotion and explore different parts of this character and myself in the character that I haven't gotten a chance to explore very much. And it's turned out to be the best part of the show, I think, for us as performers, and I hope for some of the audience as viewers, like
Definitely.
getting into like a deeper level of knowing the characters and knowing their emotions, and also that being a window into our emotions and experiences as players, and how that reflects the audience that watches the show. It's definitely been a transition, and one that I'm so excited about, and so excited to see where this campaign goes as a result.
Was that risky for you? Because you're so comfortable doing the other thing, did you feel, I don't know if people will accept me this way if I play this thing more seriously, because I am known as sort of the comedy of the group? And
yeah, I mean, I think there's a part of me especially that always has the audience in mind in the back of my head, no matter what I do. So going to a different place or a darker place it's always a risk, just not knowing how people
will respond
to it, and also if I can pull it off in a believable, honest way. That's hard stuff as an actor to do, and it's even harder when you're drinking from a gigantic flask and you're a little tipsy or something. But it's worth it. The reward has been amazing.
Yeah.
So it's something that I hope we get to keep doing on the show, and I hope people find it entertaining, even though sometimes it gets dark or heavy or deep.
You told me once that you like to start with a character's flaws when trying to identify with a character or trying to create a character in this case. Why is that? Because you would think, watching your performance and knowing you, that you would want to find the likable things and exploit those first, and the things that make that person strong or charismatic, etc. But you like to start with their flaws. Why is that?
Wow, I don't know. I think it's a combination of probably a lot of improv experience, just being on stage and exploring these different characters as a young improviser and sketch comic. When characters that are flawed and messed up tend to be more interesting for the audience and for the performer, but also, not to psychoanalyze or whatever. I'm sure I try to present myself as like a together guy who's always happy and with it and fun and
life
funny
of the party.
And life of the party and all that stuff. But I am sure that in finding flaws in the characters that I am portraying, I am so looking at my own flaws and trying to figure them out. Scanlan was like a character that was very life of the party also, but had a lot of demons and a lot of insecurities and stuff. And there's definitely some of that in me. And the character I'm playing now is really timid and shy and skittish and nervous about things. And there's definitely a lot of that, buried beneath my super handsome, ripped facade. So yeah, like there's lots of inner work as well as outer work going on.
Yeah.
In all of these characters and all of these like deeper, more exploratory moments.
Has the success of the show put more pressure on you to fully flesh out a character earlier on, Or do you still leave a lot of room because your background is so heavy in improv and coming up with things on the spot and leaving a lot of room for someone else's reaction and then to react to that reaction? Do you try and pad a little bit up front and then wait and see how everything plays out in the story before you develop more of who that character is? Or how much of it do you have figured out versus letting those improv skills and everything take over?
Well, I think this is a very unique storytelling medium that we kind of explore on Critical Role. If you're writing a screenplay or a TV show or whatever, like you want to know everything about that character going into it. So you can, so it guides the story and guides his or her reaction in the story. But this is not like that. I do think it helps in this form of storytelling to have a lot of unknowns. Like you want to know where the person came from and what their goals are, but there's a lot of specifics that you don't want to have answered right away because that leaves it open for fun new experiences to occur to you in the moment, for improv beats to happen, for discoveries to be made. And what's cool about this show and the story that we tell together is that we get to make those discoveries together live and people watch it and they see it happen. They see like the moment that Matt decides to become Victor or whatever. They see the moment that the character is created or the facet of the character is created. And that becomes part of their character forever. So you're not just watching a story, you're watching a story being written, which is weird and also kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to leave some, in this medium anyway, you want to leave some things untold.
Right. Because if you have it set in stone, and then based on where the story goes or what everyone else does, you don't want to be an immovable object. You want to be malleable and...
Yeah, and also there's dice involved.
Right, there's chaos determining the outcome of much of that stuff.
Yeah. So decisions are guided by fate and chance, and if you are singularly focused on doing one thing and it's gotta be this way, and the dice don't cooperate, then you are fucked.
Going back to what we were talking about with the way the arc played out in the first campaign, an actor I really admire once said that in television, you have to be willing to lose the audience for a few episodes and have to win them back because you're making choices that they may not agree with right away, but you're trying to tell a story that in hindsight they will understand what you were doing. How important is that for you? Did you feel that? Did you feel like I might lose some people because they see this guy as one way and now I'm trying to implement this other thing? Was there a fear of that whole thing being rejected and going, I guess I'll have to go back to the poop jokes and, because you think deeply about that stuff. And I know that a lot of it seems like it comes up on the spot, but I know that you spend time and really try to flesh that stuff out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any major move like that or turning Scanlan to a darker side or getting him, addicted to spice or whatever, like all this stuff was calculated not in a way to get to elicit a response from the audience or make them hate me or make them hate the character. It was calculated in a pure sense of like, what would the guy do right now? And it was just about exploring the character honestly. And you're absolutely right. I was worried that people would get turned off by the decisions I was making or the moves I was making in the game. And it's a very real fear. Or when I introduced this brand new asshole character, I was extremely worried. But it seemed honest. And what Critical Role has taught me, and what Matt has taught me, and what playing this game has taught me, is that following the honesty of the character and their true trajectory, even if it's not what you would, as a writer would follow, is more rewarding than just going for the easy joke or the easy laugh or the easy out. In the long term, it's better to just stay true to that path and commit to that character and that story. And in the end, you find yourself in a place that you could not have ever foreseen, as long as you just keep going towards the things that character would want.
Had you gone for just the laughs the whole time, or gone for just a serious character the whole time, would it have felt at the end of it like something was missing?
For sure.
You needed that yin and yang and that balance.
Yeah.
Arc.
Yeah. You need down times to know when the good times are there and stuff. Like you need failure to know when you're succeeding and stuff. So yeah. Seeing both sides of that character and all the characters are really important, I think, for us as performers.
You're sitting there at the Emmy Awards.
Sure. It's daytime Emmys.
You're sitting there at the Daytime Emmy Awards.
So we're like in someone's backyard.
You're in yeah.
We're in Regis Philbin's backyard.
You're in Regis Philbin's backyard.
Yeah.
Yep. It's being catered by Carl's Jr.
Yeah. There's a truck.
There's a Carl's Jr. truck
Sure.
there. It doesn't get all over the place. Don't give me the Sam Riegel Daytime Emmy Award winning answer.
Wow.
What is going through your mind?
Don't answer like Sam
Don't answer
Riegel
like
would.
you. Answer like no, but
Like a real person
You've won
would.
a lot of awards in your life. You and Rob Blatt won a lot of
Yeah,
awards for your
love my
improv
Rob Blatt.
stuff and your sketch comedy things. You've won a lot of awards in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
What's going through your mind when they call your name? Was this another tier up? Was it a sense of I've evolved and I've accomplished something even further than all of the stuff that you did as a youngster?
Yeah, I mean when they
Was it disbelief?
Yeah, of course disbelief, of course surprise. We, just from a physical standpoint, they seated us in the last row of the balcony. And so when we showed up for the Emmys, we were like, "Oh, well, we're not going to win because they wouldn't seat us
Right.
here if we have to go on stage." So it was actually really great because we could relax and just enjoy the show and just sit there and watch other people accept their trophies. So when we did win this award, it was very shocking, and it still hasn't really sunk in yet. As much as people tease me, and as much as I like to flaunt my Emmy Awardness, my Emmy Award winningness, I still don't actually have a trophy. It's been it's been like 6 months. They haven't sent me one.
Do you
yet.
have to buy it yourself? I
Oh,
know
yeah.
some of them you have to pay for it.
Yeah,
yourself.
I think it costs a lot of money.
Oh my goodness.
But whatever, it's worth it.
Right.
But yeah, it was spectacular. It was very special to have embarked on this crazy journey with my wife moving to Los Angeles, with my husband Liam going up through the voiceover ranks, idolizing people in our field like John DiMaggio and Tom Kenny and Greg Griffin, and like these titans of voiceover and animation and stuff, and then to be given a thing that's like, hey, you're one of us now. Like it's really special.
That's how it felt for you.
Yeah.
It felt like I'm arriving on the scene that these people that I admire so much are at, and I'm grateful to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like a physical, or it will be when I get the fucking thing. It will be a physical reminder that like, hey man, you're doing fine. You're doing okay.
Yeah.
The struggle still goes on, but like, you got that, and you even if you fall, you can't go below that point. Like
Right.
it's a stopgap of some
Right.
sort. Comedians and performers, as insecure as we all are, and you are a big example of that.
Yeah. All I'm sitting here while you're talking is thinking how big of a piece of shit I am.
But we're all looking for just that applause, or that cheap laugh, or that trophy, or just something to keep us going. And everyone says like awards are bullshit or whatever, but it is another thing that I can at least turn to in my darkest of dark days and be like, hey, you're okay, man. It's okay.
Right.
Some people like you.
Right. Yeah. The Academy appreciates you.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
So it was great. It was
Yeah.
great. I'm very grateful.
You've accomplished a lot already in your life, and I hear you talk about Critical Role and this experience as if that's it, I'm content. Mm-hmm. What's a day look like for you now? You do so much directing. You still do a little bit of voiceover acting, but then Critical Role. Everything's sort of all over the place. but now you're doing stuff for the channel, getting more involved. Did you?
This is the dream, man.
Yeah.
It's all of it. It's all of it at the same time. So it's
You get a say in the content that you get to create and how
not only making content and shooting shows like this one for the channel, but and making our Dungeons and Dragons show, which is great, and it's a creative outlet, and it's about being closer to friends and around friends and being funny with people on a professional level. But then I have this amazing wife at home who's also fabulously talented, and I have these great kids at home, and I don't sleep a lot. But it's great because I just want to be awake to like do as much of each thing as I can, be it animation or seeing those kids for as long as I can in the morning or at night, reading them stories at nighttime.
I don't agree with you, but I'm going to use your term. Say you were in those audition rooms back in the day. Say you were the most good-looking guy in the room, or the most talented, or whatever else.
Sure.
But say you were, and you had found success in that field. Do you feel like this is more fulfilling because it gets to touch on so many other things?
Not only does it scratch many itches and allow me to be creative and also administrative and also writing and performing and all that stuff. Not only that, but it came from a place of just friends hanging out and doing what we love together and telling stories. And so, yeah, it is a bit more fulfilling just knowing that like we've gotten to this place just from being who we are and following our true path rather than like waiting for someone else to give us a job or waiting for
Something
someone else
fall in
to
your
say
lap.
like, hey, you're handsome, you're a model now. Like it's much more interesting to create the path that you're on by yourself as you go. And so I feel like we've done a little of that. So it's been really rewarding.
Yeah.
Even though I have to see you like,
Yeah,
at
a
least
couple of
once a
times
week.
Yeah, I understand. I get that a lot.
Yeah. But like we were saying before, you have to know the darkness to know the light.
Yes. For every Brian, there's a Marisha.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. What cuts through all of this and gets to you? What gets that emotional reaction out of you?
Boy, that's rough. I'm interested.
Besides wine.
I'm interested in a lot of things. I'm fascinated by the Machine Gun Kelly Eminem feud right now.
Yeah. Why? Why?
I don't know because I don't know anything about that world.
Okay, so you're coming from a place of curiosity.
Yeah, that's
about
more
it.
intellectual curiosity.
Okay.
And so like it's a weird opportunity for me to be like, ooh, what are some other diss tracks? And so I get to like explore. But that's more of an intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
From an emotional standpoint, the stories and books and movies and things that I'm drawn to are I'm trying to think of like the last good cry I've had. It's probably during a commercial.
Yeah, usually it's the commercials that end up getting you.
Any video that features a child in peril will get me.
Trigger that dad instinct.
Yeah, but I think in general, like it's less about the stories that inspire that in me now, and it's much more about just watching my actual children do things and experience things, and watching like. Parenting is fun for a lot of reasons. It's challenging and you get to shape a life and you get to become friends with a new person and stuff like that. But it's amazing because you get to experience all these events and all these emotions again for the first time. So like you don't maybe remember the first time you had a weird thing on your face at school and everyone laughed at you.
Yeah.
And I don't either. But I got to see my son. He had this thing on his lip the other day. It was like a permanent marker. And he was so mortified and petrified to go to school and so embarrassed and stuff. And that wasn't fun for me. But it was interesting to see like that's the first time he will ever be embarrassed to go to school.
Wow.
The first of many.
Right, right.
But I got to experience that with him, and I got to take him to school, and I got to watch it all unfold, and his reaction after school and everything. And it's fascinating to get to experience these firsts again as a parent, and it's better than when you went through it the first time,
Right.
because now you get to just watch and just take it in and let it wash over you, rather than like having to worry about being in the moment.
Yeah.
And the stories, I guess, that my kids are telling me are the best stories.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been amazing.
You-
I can't wait till they get older and older, and I get to get more interesting stories from them.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you tell them that you went through that, or do you put up the veneer of, well, I never really struggled with any, when I had long hair, everyone loved it immediately. They thought, they wanted to photograph me. And,
Totally. No. I tell them all the bad stories, and they know that their father was a total dork in school and made fun of mercilessly, and was always the shrimpy kid and got beat up a bunch. So yeah, they're gonna think that their dad is both a hero and a total goober.
Do you still tell them the story of the campaign that you're in as a bedtime? You
Yeah,
recap
every
for them
Friday night, the kids ask me to tell them what happened in Critical Role the night before, and I try to edit out the most gross stuff or the most sexy time stuff.
So then they say, Dad, it doesn't sound like you did a lot this episode.
Well, some episodes, yeah, like when we just go to a town and shop, they are super disappointed.
Right.
But when we fight things, it's pretty great. And now both my kids, my girl too, is always asking, like, did you do Critical Role yet?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, tell us the story.
I imagine being at the age and the part in your life where you are now, having a close community like this, and not only going on an adventure with each other, but starting a business together and living life together and everything else like that. It must be something that you hope your kids experience, not maybe in this direct way, but in some form or another. It seems like it's resounding with everyone I've talked to so far.
Yeah, I would love for them to forge out on their own and have an idea and see where it goes. And if it fails, it fails. If that's fine. If it succeeds, that's even better. So yeah, it's risky though. This life that we've all chosen for ourselves, not having a stable job or a steady health insurance.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right.
It's real risky. And there's been lots of times for all of us where we've questioned our decisions and been unsure what the next gig is or whatever. But when it comes, it's weirdly more rewarding. Yeah, I don't know if it's for everybody. And sometimes I see old friends from University of Virginia who have like really good jobs consulting for a company and amazing houses with pools and just the greatest life and so stable and so easy and great, and they travel and I get jealous of that life too.
You do?
Sure.
Because of the stability and the certainty and that, or for other reasons?
Yeah, just because like it must be so great to not have to worry.
To not have to come up with the funny ad every
Yeah,
week
exactly.
in the car on the way to the...
Yeah. But there's a flip side to that, which is that we get to have these unique serendipitous experiences and moments that maybe that we wouldn't have had a chance to experience if we had been had that steady job or whatever. So there's always trade-offs, but there's great rewards as well.
Yeah. Anything you haven't done yet that you really want to do?
Oh boy.
You've jumped out of a plane.
Jumped out of a plane. I've sang at Carnegie Hall.
You've sang at Carnegie Hall. You have an Emmy.
I have an Emmy.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful wife and kids.
Do you want to go for an EGOT situation?
Ooh, that seems like a lot of work. I think now I'd really like to just get some sleep.
Yeah. Up next, rest.
Yeah. Just rest, and I want to start traveling again. We traveled a lot when we were in our 20s and stuff, but kids changed that. So I would love to start traveling and go I haven't seen much of South America.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to Paris, France once for 8 hours. So I would
wow.
love to go back to Paris, France for longer than 8 hours, maybe 9.
How do you think your expert French accent will go over
Yes.
the training that you had? Will
I
go
should
over
get
in
off the
Paris,
plane
France?
and when I go through customs, be like, "Hello, I am French. It is wonderful to meet you. I was on the guiding light when I was 15 years old.
Not sure if you recognize this face.
Yes, I played Nuri the pickpocket."
Can I get dual citizenship from that?
Yes.
Thank you for joining me.
Oh, the show is over?
It is.
Oh, wow.
That's it.
Do we get to finish this or do we have to pour it
Yes.
out?
No, we don't have to pour it out.
Do you have to use it for the next
This
guest?
is- yeah, I'm going to pour this into another glass and sit here and drink it with
It's
Matt.
been wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you. It was
Brian.
great. Yeah, no, thank you for
You know,
opening up. And
You're not as big an asshole as I thought.
it's a facade that I'm slowly trying to dissolve, one conversation with you guys at a time.
Well, give it some time.
Thank you so much. This was great.
This was great.
How many of these can you usually handle in one night? Because I feel
I'm pretty
great.
blitzed.
I feel great. Want a drink that's sweet but strong, just like me? Hop in a sidecar. You're gonna grab a martini glass and coat it with a sugar rim. I recommend doing this a few minutes ahead of time so the sugar has some time to really get stuck to the martini glass. Like that. Then you're going to add 1.5 ounces of cognac. This is the kind of stuff my grandma likes to drink first thing in the morning, and right before bed, also with lunch. Then 3/4 of an ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice, and 3/4 of an ounce of orange liqueur. This drink, you're gonna want to shake well. Then, strain into your martini glass. Garnish with an orange twist. Boom. You're ready to drink like the bard you will become. Cheers, Grandma.